Welcome to how to build a heating element coil winding machine, which I will use in building a metal melting furnace. The materials you'll need to build this are 3 1/4" by 1.5" thick fender washers, 3 1024 by 3/4" long machine screws, 3 1024 machine nuts, 1 5/16 diameter by 3 foot long steel rod, and 1 1/8 thick by 3/4 wide and 3 foot long steel bar. The first thing we'll do is mark 3 evenly spaced holes around the first washer, and then make a line from the outside of the washer in so it's tangent to the outside edge of the hole. Next, we will center punch the 3 hole locations so we can drill them. You'll find that center punching the holes makes drilling them much easier, and there's no sense of working too hard. Next, you're going to use an 1/8" drill to drill these 3 holes, and these are just starter holes. You'll be making them larger here in a few minutes. Now that you're done with those 3 holes, you can quickly deburr them, and then you'll center the second washer behind the first washer, and you'll clamp them together using vice grips, and then you'll use the 3 starter holes to continue and drill the 3 holes through the second washer. Now you're going to use a 3/16 drill to open up the 3 holes to your final size. When opening up your pilot holes to the final size, be careful not to push too hard because the drill will catch. Now you can test assemble your machine using the 3 1024 bolts, and you'll verify that the center holes are still aligned. Once you verify that they're aligned, you can take them back apart and deburr all your holes with a file or a rotary tool. In this case, I used my rotary tool with a sanding disc. Here you can see that the 5/16 rod does not fit through the 1/4" hole, so we'll be opening that up next. You'll clamp your washer to keep it from moving, and then you'll drill out the center using a 5/16 drill bit. You're going to do this to all 3 washers. When you're done, your steel rod should fit through the washers and rotate easily. Now you're going to take one of the washers that you drilled the 3 holes in, and you're going to open the center hole up to a 7/16 diameter. This will be the output side of your coil winding machine. Now you're going to use a small round file or a rotary tool with a 1/16 wide disc grinding wheel to make a groove in the washer with the 5/16 center hole. The groove should be a 1/16 inch deep at the outside edge and taper up to no depth at all where it comes tangent to the outside of the inner hole. Now that you're done with your groove, you're going to align your 2 washers and mark where the groove is on the outside of the washer, on the washer with the 7/16 hole in it. Then you're going to open the 2 washers up like a clamshell and mark a line starting from the outer mark and coming tangent to the inside of the 7/16 hole. Now that you've got the mark, you're going to grind a groove along this line, but this time it's going to be deeper at the center of the hole and taper up to no depth at the outside of the washer. Now you're going to align your grooves and your holes, and you're going to slide your 1024 bolts in and verify that the grooves line up. If the grooves do line up, you're all set to put on the nuts and tighten them up. If the grooves don't line up, you may have to go back and remake one of the washers. At this point, we have a rough groove going between our 2 washers that will feed our resistance wire in and coil around the 5/16 rod. Right now we're going to finish sizing that groove using a 1/16 drill, and we're going to carefully run it up the groove that we previously ground or filed in. You want to be careful because a 1/16 drill is very brittle and can break, but as you can see, I was able to drill it through carefully and finish the hole. Now you're going to clamp the washer with the 5/16 hole to the rectangular bar, verifying that the rectangular bar doesn't interfere with the 5/16 hole, and we're going to drill some 3/16 holes through. Then we're going to fully assemble using the bolts and nuts and tighten everything up nice and secure. Now, using a rotary grinder or a small round file, make a 2-inch long groove that runs along the side of the steel bar, and this will be a retainer slot. It should be about 1/16 of an inch deep. Now we're going to use our coil winder. So you're going to clamp the rectangular bar in a vise, and then you're going to feed your resistance wire up through the groove you made between the washers. Once it's up through, push about 4 or 5 inches up through, and then you're ready to put a 90-degree bend in the resistance wire. Once you've bent that, and here I'm using wire cutters to help me make a nice sharp bend, then you'll straighten the tail out. So after you straighten the tail out, you're going to pull the resistance wire back down, and you're going to feed the steel rod with the groove in it through your machine and line the wire up with the groove. Then you're going to slide the third washer that we haven't used yet over the rod. That will retain the wire and keep it in the groove and keep it from spinning. The next thing we're going to do is attach the drill motor to the other end of the steel rod and rotate it slowly. Here you can see the wire coiling very nicely onto the rod. It seems to work better if we put a little bit of backwards pressure on it. The coils come out nice and tight to each other. As you can see from this part of the video, it feeds very nicely. It doesn't need any tensioning rolls whatsoever. The wire just feeds directly off of your spool. Here you can see how I'm supporting the drill. I probably should have built a sled to help support it. Here is a nice close-up view of the machine working. What a thing of beauty. It just spins that coil right on there so nicely. So when we're done with the amount of coils that we needed, I needed 316. You can remove the retaining wire, but be careful because there's a lot of stress in the wire and it will spin as soon as you get the retaining wire off. Now that the retaining washer is off, you can put your drill motor in reverse and pull out on the rod while you're spinning it, and that will remove the rod from your coil. The next step is just simply to push the coil through and out of the winder, and then cut the resistance wire off and pull the resistance wire up through the groove between the washers. Now your coil's done. So the next thing to do is check the resistance. So stretch the coils out so they don't touch each other, and check your resistance with your ohm meter. If you have the correct resistance, then you are all set to go. Thank you for joining me in my video on how to build a heating element coil winder, and please join me for upcoming videos on how to build a metal melting furnace. Please subscribe and thumbs up. Thank you. Have a good one.